Hello, you guys, and welcome to the writing class, because this is really about writing.
This is about writing today, although our guest has like the best wallpaper ever. Like actual wallpaper on the wall. Like this is...
Yeah, right? I'm just like...
I need to get me some of this wallpaper.
And this is funny because I really detest wallpaper, but I'd get that.
Anyway, I know, right? I was like, I hate putting it up. I hate making sure the coins, but this wallpaper I would definitely do. Okay.
No, let's move on.
Yeah, we are. Okay.
I'm Winona.
And I'm Jade. And y'all listen to the podcast. I'm gonna need you to switch on over to the vlog so you can just see this wallpaper after she starts.
Okay.
Start talking, okay. So yeah, we want literary life guys with our poetry, and I read some of them. And I thought divorce was bad with other life lessons. And I thought being grown up was easy. If only I were me, and memoir and verse, the Widow's Debt series, and Foreign Coffee. All of those are available where you get your audiobooks. But if you want to read my favorite book, sorry, I know I'm not supposed to say I have a favorite book, but I do it every time. It's okay. And I thought I did my journey alone.
You recognize I'm not allowed to say my favorite book, right? She just keeps moving on.
I keep moving on because the narcissist is gonna get... I'm
gonna get mine.
I know, so I don't need to even give an opening. You can find out all that your ladies are doing on www.andithoughladies.com. But y'all aren't here to hear about us.
You're here to hear about our wonderful guests. Wonderful guests, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, both of you. Hello, everyone. I'm Claire Hynes. I'm a lecturer in literature and creative writing at the University of East Anglia in the UK, and I'm a writer. And yeah, that's me.
Okay, first of all, I love her, like, because everyone here is like, I'm a professor. She's like, I'm a lecturer.
I love lecturer. Like, that's wonderful. So is there a difference between a professor and a lecturer?
Well, in the US, you like to use the word professor, and here in the UK, we prefer lecturer until you kind of ascend the heights and get to the very top, and then you're a professor. So I've got, a couple of rungs up the ladder to go before I'm a fully blown UK professor, but I'm a professor in the US. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
I was about to say something, and I'm like, I'm not sure how anyone else would take
I was like,
this.
you know what? It's like scheduling schedules. Okay, all right.
No, she said there's a few wrongs up. I'm like, the UK made it hard.
I was like, well, it's hard, but it's cool. It's cool.
Yes. Okay, anyway, we're going to move on from that.
Paid speaker. That's all I heard was paid speaker.
That's pretty much,
that's
true.
Paid speaker. That's what I heard.
But you used to deal with students. That's annoying.
Moving
on. I just want to say one of the reasons that we found you in the first place is because I was listening to this podcast, and they were like, the UEA, which famously produces great writers. So can you tell us a bit about why the UEA is famous for producing like the best UK writers?
Okay, well, UEA is famous. It has a world-renowned MA creative writing course, and we also teach at undergraduate level and postgraduate level. And so University of East Anglia started the very first master's course back in 1970 by a writer called Malcolm Bradbury. And so it's just known for creating these sort of great writers like Ian McEwan, Tracy Chevalier, Kazuo Ishiguro, who got the Nobel Peace Prize. So all these kind of, these names associated with the UEA, and it's great teaching and just a fantastic place to study.
Okay, first of all, you forgot your own name. You need to add it to the list, because we need to manifest. Put it out there.
Just put it out there. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Right. Absolutely. I'm gonna buy all the books. So let's talk a little bit about academic writing. Why did you choose that as a path instead of just being like, I'm going to be a traditional novelist?
So why did I choose to study?
Yes.
In the first place, I guess. So I used to work in the media, and I was a print journalist, and I worked at the BBC producing TV, and I just always wanted to write. And I found myself reading during all of my holidays, and writing and that kind of thing. And I just thought, this is something I really want to do. Applied for the MA in creative writing and got a place, and thought I'll just do that MA, and then I'll scootle back to London. I don't know if scootle's a word, but I'll go back to London as soon as I'm finished, because Norwich is sort of way out in the east. And then it was like I finished and I was like, actually, I want to do more of this. So I stayed to do the PhD, and then just got into teaching and really loved teaching. And yeah, so that's my journey. It's just a fantastic, I guess, opportunity to be surrounded in reading and writing and other people who really, you know, who are writers. So yeah, just to take advantage of that really, and sort of, you know, be around it and have all the sort of support that's on offer here.
So
that is amazing. I have one more question.
Go for it, Jay, because you know the narcissist.
When did you know that you wanted to be a writer? Because you're saying you wrote on your holidays, you did all this. So when did it just occur to you, like, yep, that's gonna be my path?
Yeah, I think always, just from a very young age, that was what I did. I remember I used to sort of write stories. I used to write lots of letters, just wanted to write. And I suppose also, you know, I wanted to sort of, I'm quite sort of into, you know, making changes in the world. And so journalism felt like a natural progression initially. And so I was news editor of a black newspaper called The Voice, and reported on you know, important stories like Stephen Lawrence and that kind of thing. So yeah, that was my path really, and then just moved into writing for the national press and TV, as I said. But yeah, always was interested in fiction, non-fiction, all of these different kinds of writing as well. So yeah, I got a bit waylaid on the way in terms of writing, sort of, you know, being a mom and all that kind of thing. But I'm in a place now where I'm sort of working on my full-length book, and yeah, it's a really exciting time.
Yeah, I feel like all of that waylaying was just adding experience to, like, between when you write, you have so much to draw from now. Okay, now, Winona, I know you have the important questions. Go ahead. I do not have
the important questions. That has never been said about me in my life. Winona has the important what? Anyway, no.
Yeah, you do have the important questions. Like, is there cheese on that?
Yeah, that's true.
That's an important.
Or extra cheese.
Oh, extra cheese.
Yeah. So, my question was going to be like, has your media background helped you or been a disadvantage to you as you went into your writing path?
Well, I think it's been an advantage to me, because some of the kinds of writing that I like not only sort of fiction, non-fiction, but also essays and criticisms, and sometimes criticism. Some of the writing I do kind of mixes things up in terms of not conforming to those different styles of writing. So yeah, I think it's definitely helped. It's just given me a new way of writing and different tools to draw on, I think. But, you know, in some ways, academia has a particular way of thinking about writing. So at the moment, I guess it's sort of going through a phase of sort of thinking about new forms, thinking about journalism, thinking about digital and that kind of thing, so that when we think about writing, it's not necessarily just, you know, here's a novel. There are lots of different ways of writing. So yeah, I think it's a great benefit.
So our co-host, who could not be here today, unfortunately, sent us about 6 questions.
Our co-host Tanya's hard, so you know she has the best questions, y'all.
Yeah,
get ready.
Yes. That's exactly what I was about to say.
The best question.
No, best question one goes to Tanya.
So here's some Tanya's questions.
Go ahead and read it. Your daughter's name is Zora. You have a piece called "How It Feels to Be Black," like how it feels to be Black me. Tell me about your connection to Zora Neale Hurston and how she has influenced your life and work.
Oh, wow. That is just the best question. How long?
I told you she has the best questions.
Zora Neale Hurston, my goodness. So my daughter, her name in that piece was Zora. I can't say that I actually named her Zora at birth. So that's, you know, it's kind of like a nickname, but I've got a piece in which my daughter appears. And she's named Zora in that piece. But yeah, Zora, oh my goodness. Yeah, just reading her from a very young age. I grew up in you know, quite a sort of white area in Britain, and just to discover Zora and her writing, I think Their Eyes Were Watching God, that novel, which is so well known, published in 1937, in which she tells this tale about a young woman coming into her own, going through marriages, different, you know, moving through different places, and the way that this book is written in this most beautiful vernacular. And yeah, and Zora, in terms of her life, is just such an inspirational woman who kind of did all this anthropological work and talked about the beauty and value of Black traditions and folklore. And so my work, my current project, involves sort of researching her life. And so I've been over to Florida to find out more about her and meet others who are kind of, you know, working with her, including Alice Walker, I should say, who I met when I was over there 2 or 3 years ago. So yeah, she's just amazing. Yeah, I just thoroughly recommend Zora Neale Hurston to anyone who hasn't read her.
Yeah. All right. So another question from Tanya. Last year's tragedies inspired an upswing in support for the Black community. Lack of diversity in UK publishing industry, is it new to you? What is the state of things now, and what's next in the fight?
Another great question. Yeah, so yeah, I think George Floyd, that the killing obviously sort of shook people up all over the world. And the UK publishing industry, I think, has been, you know, one of the areas sort of impacted and thinking about changes. So yeah, I guess there's a greater awareness about the lack of perspectives, lack of voices. I think what happened was that some sections of society, or the majority, kind of woke up to the fact that, you know, our lives as Black people might not be as known and understood as they should be, and that, you know, our voices aren't given enough prominence. And that includes literature and writing. And, you know, think of all the amazing stories, the amazing writers that are out there who perhaps haven't had the connections and the support to be enabled to write and deserve that support. And I just think, you know, we should live in a world where everyone's voice is valued, and you know, different experiences are valued. And so, you know, here's an opportunity for us to kind of do something. So I think it's sort of, you know, in terms of changes, yes, there have been change. You know, I'm not sure how quick that change is, and I think there are often questions about to what extent that change can be sort of embedded in systems, and to allow that change to actually last. So yeah, let's hope that things get better as a result.
All right, so y'all, last question from Tanya. Why did you just move the screen? Yes, like, last question from Tanya, because I know she wants to know. What books are you reading, and which do you recommend?
Okay, well, which books am I reading? So we have at UEA a new International Chair of Creative Writing, some Zimbabwean writer, Tsitsi Dangarembga, and her book, This Mournable Body, is something that I'm reading at the moment. What else am I reading? I generally have several books on the go, so it's difficult.
Yes, like true readers have. All right, we all have about 5 books that are currently reading.
So that one's a current. I'm dipping in and out of, again, Jean Rees's Why Sargasso Sea. I've read it about 3 or 4 times, but I just kind of love returning to that book. There's a book of criticism I'm reading, that I've just finished, called A Decolonial Feminism by someone called Françoise Berger, and that's fantastic. Who else have I got in my bedroom, on the floor?
Yep. Absolutely. I'm just, wow, she's describing my life. She's describing my life. Like, who else do I have in my bedroom on my floor? It's absolutely, she's describing my life. I love it. I'm not alone, y'all. I'm not alone.
Yeah, but your reading isn't as deep as that.
I know. Well, sometimes we get deep.
Seldom, yeah.
Sometimes we get deep.
And Bernardine Evaristo, her new memoir, I need to read that book. I haven't started it yet, but I'm looking forward to starting that one. But yeah, there are so many.
I feel like she's like the true literary.
I love it. Like, I'm just like, I'm imagining the bookmarks like already, and the pages. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I feel like if she saw my reading collection, she'd be like, ooh, shame.
Shame. Oh, all right.
Wow. So you have a big job, I believe.
It's a big job.
At UEA, which is to make sure that the writing curriculum is like fair to everyone. They have a fair experience because it all like make sure it all reflects them. How do you plan on taking on that enormous task?
That seems enormous.
Okay, so yeah, I have a role as decolonizing lead in my school, and so that means, I mean, for some people that term decolonizing sounds really kind of subversive and like, we're taking, we're sort of, setting fire to things and whatever, but all it means really is that we're recognizing the fact that our university, our reading lists and that kind of thing have been sort of inflected with the past, and it's undeniable that we have this sort of colonial history, and that as part of that certain writers were elevated and as we said before, some voices aren't. And I think a lot of people, if you say the word writer, they think about white men, and they think about sort of Shakespeare and that kind of thing, and there are a range of different writers. And thinking about the canon, and who's in the canon, the great literature, and so we believe that great literature is important, that Shakespeare is important, that all of these huge names of the past, but also that we should bring in new writers or different writers from around the globe as well, and ensure that excellent writing is valued, whoever is the writer and whoever they look like. So that's all it is really, is thinking about those different books and bringing in different perspectives when we look at books. So yeah, we can still learn about modernism and post-colonialism and all of these different things, but we can also bring in sort of new perspectives as well, new forms of criticism. So yeah, it's about looking at those reading lists and thinking about how we teach as well. And everything has to change, and people say, oh, well, UEA is this fantastic place and it's this place of excellence. But, if we want to have excellence, we need to kind of move with the times. We can't teach and we can't do things the way that we did 50 years ago or 100 years ago even, when, these establishments were created for a privileged few. So it's just about kind of rethinking what we're doing, and that's part of teaching excellence. As a good teacher, you need to keep thinking about what you're teaching, how you can update your materials, how can you update your approaches, how can you make sure that everyone's included. So that's all we're doing really, and it is a big job, but just kind of move towards it as well as we can.
So
I love how you explain that, though, because as a good teacher, you have to always add in new things, which is very, very true.
I have a next to the last question.
Yep.
And it's a two-part question.
Because Winona has to have two parts. She doesn't have one part.
No, I am the narcissist. I have to take up more time.
Oh my goodness, I can't do it with you today.
So my first question is, how does one teach writing in general? And then my second question, of course, is what advice do you have to give to writers who are considering going the academic path?
Okay, all right. How do you teach writing? Well, that's a big question. Where do I start with that one? Okay, how do you teach writing?
Says the poet. Says the poet.
That you so do, because people are always like, "Ooh, you write good poetry. Teach me." And I'm like,
I do poetry.
I do poetry. I don't.
Yeah.
Poetry.
Well, I guess, I mean, there are traditional ways, there are lots of books you can refer to, but I guess the way, you know, thinking about how we teach, it's less about kind of me just presenting in a lecture and everyone just listens. That's the sort of old style approach. But now it's much more sort of interactive. So it's about bringing books in which we can discuss and thinking about the writerly techniques that, you know, at work, maybe trialing some of those techniques in the classroom, you know, having conversations, workshopping students' work. So there are lots of different ways, but you know, I think teaching should be, you know, it should be exciting, you know, and I think if you don't want to bore people, you just want to keep people sort of excited and interested, and help students to experiment with new ways of doing things so that they can, you know, find their own way, find their own voice, their own style, and feel more confident as writers. So that's the first part. And then the second part was about students. Just remind me again, just quickly. Second part was
about what advice would you give to people that were thinking about taking the academic path for their writing career?
I think the best thing to do. You okay?
Yeah. Sorry, I was just having like a great laugh. I'm sorry.
Research. Find out about all the courses available. Or, you know, think about what works for you. What kind of writing do you want to pursue? You know, is it fiction, non-fiction, poetry, script? Where do you know where do you want to go? Are there any particular teachers like me who you were interested in being taught by? So yeah, I think just doing the research and applying perhaps to a few places at a time, asking lots of people who've been through these courses about, you know, about how they've fared. So yeah, just doing that kind of research work, I think is really important.
I'm sorry, I was having that great laugh when you were talking about like you don't want to get taught by people that are boring. So that's literally what I was laughing about, and I was trying to get it together, and I was like, "Don't laugh too loud, don't laugh too loud." But I was like, "So true, boring." And you're just like, "Why?" Yeah,
exactly. And then why should you know? I just think it's awful. I mean, my own daughter, when she goes to school, if she finds one particular lesson she's not doing well in it, or you know, she's kind of losing enthusiasm, it's because the teaching isn't active and you know, alive enough. We have to kind of, these have to be spaces of energy and fun and play, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. See, this is why I was like laughing so hard.
So now I want to take your class.
Yeah, I know, right now, definitely. So with the advent of COVID and you had to pivot probably to be online, how did you cope with that? And I'm gonna be like Winona and have two completely non-questions. And where can people find out more about you? What you have going on? See how I just bridge those together? It has no...
With the word and.
With the word and. Love it.
Thank you. Okay, so COVID and teaching. So how did we fare? How did I fare with teaching online? So with great difficulty at the beginning. It was a shock for all of us, I guess. You know, this thing happened. We're used to teaching in a particular way, going into classrooms, you know, bringing in books, materials, all of that kind of thing. So the idea that everything had to be put online was, it was a big deal. It was a lot of work. And I know that, you know, some students felt shortchanged, but believe me, we worked so hard to make sure that our teaching could sort of translate and that students would have access to materials. And sometimes it would mean kind of recording lectures. And, you know, we're not used to recording lectures. It's like you have to think about how to make, you know, going back to that point about how you make it interesting and how you convey this information in this new way. you know, for people who, we're not kind of content creators, we don't do that. We're not experienced like you guys. So it was about learning new skills, and getting used to new ways of teaching. And it was just strange seeing students, you know, in that different way. You realize that when you're teaching in a classroom, you kind of pick up on the vibes in the room. You know, it just, you think, okay, I've done this section here, and I can just see, I think people are ready to discuss now, you know, in pairs or in groups. And when you're online, you have to kind of reconfigure this thing. It's like whole breakout rooms and this, that, and the other. So it was an entirely new way of doing things. And yeah, it was a huge challenge, but I think, you know, these are skills that are going to be helpful moving forward. So it's all good. And then the second question was about me and how you find more about me. Well, at the moment, I don't have a website or anything, but, you know, you can Google me. I'm on the research pages for UEA. If you Google staff Claire Hynes, it's Hynes, and Claire Claire. You can find me, my profile pages there. Yeah, you could look out for me occasionally. I write comment pieces occasionally in The Guardian and elsewhere. Yeah, and you can look out for my book when it comes out.
Okay, so that was seriously what we wanted to hear. Seriously, we were like, yo, look out for the book when it drops. We can all buy it.
I don't have dates or details or anything, so all of this is work in progress. But yeah, it's thank you for asking.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been a pleasure.
Works in progress, first of all, are always amazing. And when they totally come out, it's like I already pre-ordered them. So no, it's already pre-ordered when I see it go up. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Jay, would you like to wrap us up? Because I think she did a lovely job around.
I know, right? It was like a bow, like she's a lecturer. It's amazing. Yeah, like she's a lecturer. All right, so you can find out everything your ladies are doing on www.andithoughladies.com. While you're there, take a moment, go to the middle of the page, see the charities that we probably support. You can support them also. We thank you in advance for that. And just remember, y'all, wisdom is all around you if
you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona
and Jade. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah, thanks for listening.